Hey guys, so it looks like Blackbeard is getting nerfed once again. A big nerf.
Yeah.
So if you're not aware, right now on the technical test server, Ubisoft is currently trying to reduce the potency of Blackbeard, and the way that they're going about it is by reducing the HP of his shield from 50 HP down to 20. On top of that, if that wasn't enough, they're also reducing the damage of his MK17 from 49 damage down to 40. The end result is that Blackbeard's shield pretty much gets taken out by one shot from everything in this game. It can even be a secondary weapon. This thing isn't going to hold up to any scrutiny whatsoever. Now, a lot of people have brought up some concerns, and they've questioned, why are they doing this now? Many people claim that Blackbeard isn't overpowered, he isn't played very often, and the reason is because of this. He is actually played frequently, and he has literally the highest win rate in Rainbow Six Siege in Platinum and higher level. He is incredibly powerful in the right hands. I think that Ubisoft has finally come to the realization that Blackbeard just does not make sense in Rainbow Six Siege, and this is more of a band-aid fix to a character that I'm hoping eventually gets a rework. Now, the real question is, though, does this make Blackbeard useless? I played him on the technical test server over the last couple of days, and I've sort of come to the conclusion that for the vast majority of the player base, yes, only having 20 HP doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room to retaliate against the player that you're going against. Now, in a perfect world, if you react at the same time and you have pinpoint-like precision against that defender, you have the advantage. They're gonna hit the shield, you're not, you're gonna be able to get the one-shot headshot, and that really comes down to the fundamentals of why this operator just should not be in Rainbow Six Siege. But that's the way that he functions, and so, yes, in those select situations, you are going to come out on top. In reality, though, that's just not the way that things work, and there are so many things that are holding him back. This is the Blackbeard that has been slowly getting nerfed over the years, and that baggage is still there. You're gonna have slow ADS time, you don't move very quickly when you actually have the shield on. It's arguably one of the worst weapons in the game now, with the damage and the recoil and the RPM, and the cherry on top is that you now only have 20 HP. And so that while, yes, technically, you do have a brief window to be able to retaliate and win that engagement, it's not that big of a window, and you have all those other things that you're gonna have to overcome. Now, I will admit that I am not the best Blackbeard player. I haven't played him reliably for years, and so maybe someone who knows the ins and outs, they understand the recoil and understands how to use him properly, this may not be as big of a deal. But I think for the vast majority of the players out there, even though you might have those situations where it protects you from a headshot every once in a while, if you go against a defender that knows what they're doing and they have the aim to back it up, they're gonna rip through that shield like it's paper. I mean, it feels like paper now, and be able to take you out no problem. And so I think this is really, at the end of the day, more of a band-aid fix than anything else, and that Blackbeard does deserve a rework. If you're going to go this far, where it only protects you from one shot, I think they just need to scrap the entire idea and actually bring us a concrete rework, like what they did with Tachanka. Now, how they're going to be able to do that, I'm not entirely certain. One idea that I really like is maybe allowing him to throw or put down some sort of shields around the map so that he's able to bring some cover for his teammates. Imagine being able to put down a shield to watch your flanks and things like that. He can kind of be that anchor for the offensive team. That could be really cool. We've talked about in previous mailbox episodes, maybe flipping the shield so that it just protects your upper chest, but giving it more HP. That's another possibility. But I think that Ubisoft really just needs to take a good look at this operator and give him a proper rework, because I think that for the vast majority of the player base, this is going to make this operator practically useless. Now, one change that I'm actually really excited about, though, is that Ubisoft is finally giving a big buff to Nook. What they're doing is that when she uses her gadget, she will become immune or will not activate proximity-based gadgets. This includes Ella's Gersmots, Melusi's Banshee, Kapkan entry denial devices, proximity alarms, and metal detectors. operators. This, I think, will finally make Nook the stealthy operator she was always supposed to be. I love playing as this character, but every time you came across one of these gadgets, it felt almost insurmountable. If you need to be able to take out or use your nade to dispatch of it so that you can go on into the objective unknown, well, you already made the noise. They know that someone is nearby. They're going to be on high alert, and that stealth is ruined. And so now you can just simply pass through that Kapkan trap without activating it. Like, that is going to be a game changer. Now, if you're worried that Nook is all of a sudden going to become the new Ashe main operator, where with a click of the button, you can just run onto the objective and completely disregard all of those gadgets that are meant to slow you down, you don't need to be concerned. This is where I have to give Ubisoft praise because they thought this out, because it functions very similar to the way that she's able to stealth against cameras. If you start sprinting, or if you do certain actions like vault over a window or rustle through some barbed wire, anything that usually generates a lot of noise normally, those cameras can see you. There might be a distortion, but they know that Nook is nearby. You're not fully stealthed anymore. If you lose that full stealth components, all of those other gadgets that we just mentioned will activate if you do that. So if you're rustling through barbed wire to try to sneak on to the objective, the Melusi is going to activate because you lost the full stealth of her gadgets. If you step in a goo and the Ella Gersmont is above the doorway, it's also going to go off. And so essentially what I'm trying to describe here is that it's not just going to be an I win button against all of those things that are meant to slow you down. Defenders always bring barbed wire. You're still gonna have to work around that. They might bring a Legion or even a castle. You can't just make your way through a castle barricaded. Like, this is going to be things that are going to stop and be a direct counter to her. But at the same time, if you play it well, which is the reason why I wanted this change for the longest time, you are finally gonna have more of that stealth gameplay. Another operator that I'm happy is seeing some changes is that Ubisoft is making another pass at reworking Kali. You guys may remember that just with this last update, Ubisoft reworked her to try to essentially give her an upgrade and make her more reliable, but at the same time made it so that she couldn't one-shot down 3 armored operators. This had me and a lot of other players very confused. If you're trying to buff someone, why would you nerf them in this respect? And so what they've done now on the technical test server is that she's going to be able to down every single armored character in the game. The caveat to this, though, is that Rook is now going to be her counter. If you have Rook's armor on and you're 2 speed, it is now going to take 2 body shots to put you into the down but not out state. The same for 3 armored operators. I think this is a fair compromise. I think it's good to have direct counters in the game like this. It doesn't push things too far, but it allows, if you are getting destroyed by that Kali player, if you want, you can give your team that little bit of wiggle room with that armor upgrade. And so just in general, I think that this was exactly what Kali needed. It allows her to excel more against people that are not running Rook, but if you do want to actually bring in some counterplay, that is an option. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up, because this concerns console players, is that Dokkaebi is losing access to her C75 in favor of the Gon 6. Now, I love the fact that Dokkaebi is getting some utility in that form of the other secondary weapon, but a lot of console players are saying that this is a direct nerf, even some PC players, because they cannot control the SMG-12. That is now going to be their only other option if they want to fall back on a secondary. And I can understand. I don't even like to use the SMG-12. When I play as Dokkaebi, which is rarely, I'm going to lean on that C75. And so the question I have for Ubisoft is, why not just give players all 3 options? Do they really feel like this is necessary? Do they feel like this one in particular was too strong and they needed to remove it in favor of the Gon 6? I don't think it's an engine limitation, because IQ has 3 primaries. Why would it be so odd for there to be 3 secondaries for Dokkaebi? And so I like the fact that they are giving her a bit more utility. At the same time, just give people more options. I would much rather them go down that route. The final change that I tested on the TTS is that Ubisoft is improving the recoil on the G36C. This thing has a lot of horizontal kick on the live build, and so what Ubisoft is doing is eliminating a lot of of that horizontal drift. Now, I was excited about this because I hardly ever used it because of that very reason, and while it is noticeable, it does more or less just go up and down now, I found that it still has a ridiculous amount of spread and recoil compared to a lot of the other options in Rainbow Six Siege. This thing does not have a fast RPM, and you would assume that that would mean it'd be laser beam-like accurate, and while those first couple of shots are fairly reliable as to where you're aiming, everything after that is going to be really inconsistent. And so, while I do think that this is going to be a step up for a lot of players, if their end goal was to try to make this actually competitive for something like Ashe or Iana, I don't know if this hits the mark. I think that they need to go a bit further and try to reduce that spread a little bit more because it still is fairly unruly. Maybe I'm just not good with it because I will admit I don't have a lot of practice here with this weapon, but I do think that they could go a bit further. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I have been having a lot of fun on the technical test server trying out all of these changes, and for the most part, I have been really enjoying what I've been seeing. Obviously, there are a couple of exceptions here, but let me know what you guys think about all of these changes. Are you happy with Blackbeard? I know this is going to be very divisive. Some people think that he shouldn't even be in the game to begin with. Some people love playing as him. What would you like to see done to this character? Do you think that he needs a top to bottom rework? How would you like Ubisoft to go about it? But yeah, guys, until next time, have a good one and take it easy.